everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Jada Brown, and I am a real estate agent and property manager in Baltimore, Maryland. And in this video, I want to discuss a very frustrating and confusing situation that landlords can often face, and that is when you have tenants who are also roommates and they no longer want to live together. You've got a single lease, but with maybe 2 or more names, and suddenly one of them is packing their bags. They're asking you to be taken off the lease, and the other one wants to stay, or maybe they both want to go. So what do you do in this situation as a landlord? Do you have to let them out of their lease? How do you handle their security deposit? And what happens if the tenant who wants to stay can't afford the lease on their own? Well, in this video, I am going to break down this situation for you and give you some pro tips on how to handle this dispute and protect your rental property and protect your investment and stay on the right side of the law. Let's dive in. So the first scenario, all the tenants, i.e. all of the roommates, want to vacate the property. The first thing that you should do as the landlord is to read your lease agreement. Is there a termination clause in your lease agreement? If so, what are the details? Typically, a termination fee is equal to 2 months of the rent. So for example, if you are renting your property for $2,000 a month and all of the tenants want to vacate, then they must pay $4,000 in order to terminate the lease. If they do not pay that termination fee, then they are responsible for the rent until their original lease ends or until you re-rent the property. Now, one important thing to note in Baltimore City is that as the landlord, you must make a genuine effort to actually re-rent the property. And that means listing the property on different platforms, advertising, conducting showings, etc. You must really try to re-rent the property. And it's important to note that in Baltimore City, you can charge the original tenants a fee for the effort that you have to go through in order to re-rent the property, such as advertising fees. And then you can deduct from their security deposit as well for any repairs that are outside of normal wear and tear, as well as unpaid rent. So I do have a video about how to handle security deposits. I will link it somewhere in this video. Scenario 2. One roommate wants to stay, the other wants to go. What do you do in this situation? Well, the first thing is that you do not have to release them from the lease, but if you do, all parties must agree, including you as the landlord. So let's say they find a new roommate and they want that new roommate to move in. Okay, that's fine, but that new roommate must meet your criteria and you must screen them. That means they need to do an application, pay the application fee, and you need to verify income, employment, rental history, credit, background check. Okay? Once they qualify, then you need to sign a new lease with the new roommate as well as the one that is staying, and therefore you are releasing the roommate that wants to move out from their liability. They can move on and move out. All right, in terms of the security deposit, this is one important thing I want to note because this happened to me last week. I had a couple who no longer got along, and one moved out and one stayed. So remember, The security deposit was paid by all the original tenants collectively as security for their entire lease agreement. As a landlord, you are not required and should not return any portion of the security deposit to the departing roommate, especially while the lease is still active and at least one of the original tenants remains in possession of the property. The security deposit remains with you until the entire tenancy ends, which means when the last of the original tenants has moved out. At that point, you will assess any damages and return the deposit minus any lawful deductions to all the tenants named on the lease according to Maryland's laws, timelines, and requirements. It will then be up to the former roommates to decide how to divvy up that deposit. What I like to do is encourage the roommates to handle the departing tenant share of the security deposit privately. As a landlord, I do not have to get involved in this. I'm just telling you all, work this out amongst yourselves. This keeps me out of the middle of their financial arrangements. Scenario number 3, the remaining tenant qualifies and signs a new lease. If the remaining tenant can independently afford the property and they do not want to get a new roommate and they meet the criteria that you have for that property, then we could agree to terminate the original lease and sign a new lease in just the remaining tenant's name. This releases the departing roommate, but it puts the full financial responsibility on the remaining tenant. In the situation that I had with the couple, one of them left, the other stayed, and we created a new lease with the remaining one. He signed it, and I kept it for the original time of the first lease. So when that first lease ended, it will be the same time that this lease ends. And typically you can do a full year lease, but because of some other reasons, I decided to keep it at the original date of when the first lease was going to expire. So I just have a few key points that I want to implore to all landlords in Baltimore City. And the number one is stick to the lease. Make sure that you read the lease agreement. Don't stray from it. If you have a good lease, everything should be in the lease on how to handle these type of situations. And the second key point that I want to really stick in your brain is to not mediate roommate disputes. Your role is to manage the tenancy, not their personal relationships, okay? And handle the security deposits correctly. In Maryland, you have to pay interest on the deposit and return it within 45 days of the tenancy's termination. And lastly, make sure to document everything. Keep clear records of all communication and any new agreements. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions about this topic, make sure to comment it down below. And if you need a realtor or a property manager in Baltimore City, make sure to send me an email at jada.brown@kw.com or give me a call at 571-259-3588. Thank you.